Man, I can't treat that Weedeater like that. This has actually been really good to me. It's a Stihl FS38. Got a speed feed head on it. I've owned this Weedeater for, Lord, probably 8 years or so. Made a lot of money with it, even for a homeowner grade. I think I gave like 120 bucks for it new. And at 120 bucks, you know, you can't really justify spending a whole lot on parts for it when you can just go get another one. But it's been real good to me, so we're gonna treat it right. But anyway, a company reached out to me, asked if I needed any parts or anything. They're known as Hipa or Hipa. I'm not really sure on the pronunciation, but it's H-I-P-A. Now, I've actually had their carburetor and fuel lines and air filter on this Weedeater for over 2 years now. And when I first put it on, I had to make no adjustments to it. So I've been real happy with it. Had good luck with them so far. I was glad he reached out to me when they did, because I had this Weedeater and a chainsaw to work on for here on the farm. So they had pretty good timing with it. I'll put a link to their website and Amazon and eBay stores in the description. If you need parts for two-stroke stuff, that's a good way to go. Because like this, I hate having to go to dealerships to get the parts, and even then, with this $100 Weedeater, I hate to buy the high dollar one. So I think the carb kit with everything for this is like $10–15, so you can't beat it. Because this is pretty much a throwaway item whenever you get to a certain point. So now this Weedeater still has good compression, and it'd probably still run, but the problem I was having with it, you'd have to let it get good and hot before you could ever wide open throttle. And with such a small Weedeater, it was aggravating to deal with. So once I got that big one, I pretty much retired this thing. I always wanted to fix it though, because it's light and deals with ditches good. Let's see what they sent us. This is one of their little kits, but got a new air filter and pre-filter. Came with some fuel line, but this is not correct for this specific one. Some nice gaskets. Nice spark plug. A spare primer bowl. And a ready to go carburetor. Don't forget the fuel filter. Now that's hard to beat for about $10–15, you know. Go order that up through your local dealership. But anyway, this Weedeater actually takes a different kind of fuel line. They actually sent me two, but it's a one-piece item that fits through the fuel tank. That was pretty cheap as well. Let's get this slapped on there. This always was one of my favorite Weedeaters for some reason. Pull the fuel lines off. There you go. Let's get this fuel line on. filters hung up in the bottom. Real interesting one-piece thing. I wonder why they use it on these and not all of them. Get our new fuel filter and line set up. Not too bad at all. These carbs look almost identical. Just a little bit of difference. Got plastic here, actually brass on that one. In case before any of you say it, it's Stihl, Zama, and made in China. So we're gonna rock with it. Now this carburetor fits several models, so it did come with the little cable holder here, but we don't need that on ours, so I'm gonna take that off. The fuel in is gonna be this bottom one down here, and then your top primer one's gonna be going to nothing inside the tank. So got our new gaskets. I usually end up having to take 2-stroke carburetors apart 3 or 4 times before I can get them to work like I need to. I don't have the greatest luck with them. Put our cable in there. Then we got our other gasket. As with all our other projects, should have cleaned it before we started. Some fresh 50 to 1 here. I ain't ran this Weedeater in probably 2 years because of this. And how about that? 10-15 bucks in about 10-20 minutes. Runs like it was brand new again. It's really good if you like me, and sometimes these things sit around a lot. That's with no adjustments too. Real happy with it. I imagine a feller could sit here and tune it just a little bit and get it where it'll really get after it, but I'm happy as can be with that. Now, something to remember with any of these 2-strokes is in your muffler you'll have a spark arrestor. You can see it's like a screen. What'll happen is that'll get stopped up and it'll cause a lot of issues too. That's something to always check first thing. This one's threaded into the muffler. This one's a little bit more old school on this FS38R. This is nothing but a pull-out screen. You can see it's clogged up a little bit worse. Need to clean that out. That causes a lot of Weedeater issues, or any 2-strokes really. I'm happy to have this one back. And if you go back to our Weedeater attachment video, I talked about how the size of a speed feed head is important. Size it to the Weedeater. You can see the size difference on those. This actually bogs this little one down a little bit, but worth it. Just because it's paid for itself don't mean we ain't gonna treat it right and take care of it, and it'll keep on going. Still lots of compression left on it. Almost forgot the spark plug. Kind of a snug fit here. Be a little bit easier with a chrome socket. Not too bad. Main thing you gotta remember, that head's aluminum, so be careful with it. There you go. Not too much now. Next up, we got this Husqvarna 240. It's my father-in-law's. It's a low hour saw, but it's been sitting around a little bit. Could get it to fire up every once in a while, but it'd run for like a second or two. You'd have to pump a lot on your primer bulb to get it to fire up. Kind of suspect of the fuel lines, but now they sent us a little box of goodies here. New air filter, fuel lines, pretty carburetor, got a brand new primer bulb, fuel filter, gasket, and a new plug. Now, one thing I like about HIPA is they pretty well sell you a whole kit for the normal service stuff. Pretty nice little kit. Now, if you work on saws or Weedeaters or stuff for people here and there, they actually sell them in packs. Like, I think you can get a pack of 10 of these, or a whole bunch of air filters if you're working in dusty areas. So they have packs of those, so that's pretty nice. You got a screw here that goes into a spring, and then one back here, one over here. But you got to be careful now because your throttle rod is still connected there. That can take a little bit of practice to get undone. They swapped to a much smaller T15 for some reason here. All of these are Torx. This little cover comes off. This air filter looks a little bit nasty. Good thing we got one of those from them. Hold that out of the way. That'll come off. It's got like a hook on it. I can already see our problem right there. Look at that fuel line. Split. This saw don't have many hours on it either. Look at that. Broke right off. It's got splits in it too. Split all the way up the side. That's crazy. Even Husqvarna don't even use good fuel line. You got your primer bowl. That's even getting cracked. I'd say definitely the fuel line's what's wrong with this saw. Like I said, you could get it to run good if it ever picked fuel up. But we're going to go ahead and put the Hipa carburetor on it. Drain this fuel out. I ain't done that yet. And the piece I was fixing to look for actually fell out just then. See, it's a little hose barb to connect two pieces of hose together. They usually use this on the inside to keep that to keep your primer bulb side from pulling the hose back up out of the fuel tank. And then we got our line into the carburetor. It's actually got the filter on it. And if you're gonna work on two strokes much, you're gonna need a long pair of needle nose to get in these fuel tanks to mess around. That's the only way to do that. I think these are just from Harbor Freight. Just feed it through. Luckily I was able to wring it out the side of the fuel tank. Got a brand new filter in our kit. Get it to lay where it needs to in there. So the easier thing to do is come over here on your fuel line, cut a taper on it. That's poorly done, but you get the gist of it. Every time I do that line on a lot of saws, you about can't get the fuel line back in there. I'll end up having to taper it a good 3/4 of an inch to even get it started in there. So we put our new primer bulb in there. Set it up side by side. That way you know where everything goes. Not gonna lie, it might take you a couple tries to remember where everything goes. Got our fuel line. Wouldn't hurt to take a picture or two before you start. Put our brand new air filter in there. Tricky part's getting that throttle hook back up. Be careful not to break it. Put our screws back in our vibration springs. Careful with the threads. This is the only time them button push cans is worth anything. It's for like a chainsaw. That's what I use, mix up a gallon at the time. With that brand new Hipa carburetor, air filter and plug. It's hard to fire right up now. I'll admit, two strokes are not my strong suit, and I'll get agitated really quick with them. I'll be honest about that one. But this makes 3 of them I've saved with Hipa parts. Be glad to use them again. Said we've been rocking 1.5 years on that FS80 with their carburetor and air filter kit. I've been really happy with it, and I want to thank them for sending us out a couple of carb kits for these two. Helped us out a lot. We really appreciate it. Only bad thing about these 2 strokes is the cost to repair them gets up pretty high sometimes. So you almost, like with this Weedeater, you know, $120 will go buy you another one. But Hipa makes it really affordable to keep these older tools going. So a big thanks to Hipa, and thank y'all for watching. And if you haven't seen our video about Weedeater attachments, go check that out. Might be pretty interesting to you.